We come now to the time for our speaker, and it's a joy tonight to introduce Janet Robbins, who, as she said about Lawrence recently, needs no introduction. She's very at home, and we are very at home with Janet. As you may know, she's an important part of the oblate community in the UK and internationally, and she supports many people. She's part of the International Oblate Council. And you might have seen the personal detail about Janet, that she's been working in a factory, supporting a factory community in Scotland for the last 12 years. And I think her title has us all intrigued, Jesus' Day Off. So, Janet, we look forward to hearing about Jesus' Day Off. Thank you.
Thank you. And when Judy and I spoke a moment ago, she said, I can't imagine what it would be like for all of us if Jesus really did have a day off. What prompted the title and the little talk that I'm going to give in a moment? Several things. I think just the awareness of the loving support that you all give to the community, and you know how much we value that, and the loving support you give family and friends. And so much of that is unconditional. I am prompted as well by the work that I do in the factory, knowing how difficult it is in manufacturing in the UK at the moment, how stressful it is, how people work very, very hard and are committed. And then the other thing that prompted this title was always seeing Fred and Magda at the end of Benedict's Well with such joy and gratitude when they say their farewell at the end of Benedict's Well. So several things that prompted me to share this with you. And I'm going to begin with something from Genesis chapter 2. By the seventh day, God had finished the work he had been doing. So on the seventh day, he rested from all his work. Then God blessed the seventh day and made it holy, because on it he rested from all the work of creating that he had done. Many years ago, Geoffrey Barton, some of you know of his little book that he wrote at 90 years old, Going Beyond. Geoffrey is my spiritual companion, and he gave me a little book called Jesus' Day Off. And since reading that little book, I have bought it many times to give to adults as well as children. It's a beautiful little book, and I'm going to share the essence of it with you shortly. And some of you might think it's a bit light and fluffy. It's a book, Jesus' Day Off is a book by Nicholas Allen, and he's written many books of a similar nature. But I hope that you can take something meaningful from the book that I'm going to share with you shortly. And it is because I know that we are committed members of our community, many communities, that we care for others and that we are kept busy. At least that's a phrase that we might use. I'm very busy. But it seems to me that busyness is actually a state of mind. Many of you might have heard me say that. And it can be a barrier when we keep saying to others, I'm so busy, I don't know how I'm going to get through the day. Or even worse, when we say to ourselves, I'm so busy and I find myself stressed and overwhelmed. I have a friend of mine who declares to anyone that wants to hear, Janet's too busy. Janet's too busy. Well, I very rarely, thank God, feel busy. And some of us may not be busy doing things, but we're often busy thinking the what if. What should I be doing now? And the worry that comes from that labyrinth of what ifs, busy thinking. We may be busy doing nothing, but we are still busy thinking. And it can be overwhelming. This labyrinth that goes on. And most of my time in the factory is spent with people, seeing people and hearing their busyness, their sense of overwhelming. And in our own community, in our families, caring for friends, caring for family, deep caring for family, it becomes a duty that is no longer a joy. That lovely phrase, duty and joy. And I remember having a poster in my office here. I don't know where it is, it seems to have disappeared. But anyway, I had a poster that used to say to me, I typed it up, is your duty a joy, or are you feeling duty bound? And that sense of binding oneself to duty comes, I think, when there is that overwhelming, a sense of overwhelming. We feel guilty, resentful, and often that leads to rejection. And in many ways, we are diminished. There's a wonderful reading from Rumi. It's a very simple one. Put your thoughts to sleep. Do not let them cast a shadow over the moon of your heart. Let go of thinking. And our own John Main. The most important thing for all of us is to live our lives to the full, insofar as we can, to realize our own full potential. Meditation is important for us because it is the process whereby we keep our contact with the creative center of our being, not just open, but in a constant and continuous state of expansion. Meditation is a process whereby creative energy is released within us. And so we're often reminded of the fruits of our meditation, a time to just be. It is our place of pure prayer. That, as Genesis reminds us, even God needed to rest from our own sense of mind busyness and doing busyness, a fatal combination. We need to reclaim the joy amidst our own suffering, particularly amongst our suffering and our duties. The suffering and the duties that are part of human living. And many of you will have heard me quote Desmond Tutu, remembering his face, the beauty of his smile, when he said, It helps no one if you sacrifice your joy because others are suffering. We people who care must be attractive, must be filled with joy, so that others recognize that caring, that helping, and being generous are not a burden, they are a joy. Give the world your love, your service, your healing, that you can also give it your joy. This too is a great gift. And in John's Gospel, I have come that men and women may have life and may have it in all its fullness. So I now invite you to consider the impact of taking a time to rest, to take a day off. Take off your shoes, hang up your tools. And so often, Sunday, the seventh day, is not a time of rest. We have our church duties, we have our family duties, and catching up if we're working for all those chores that have to be done. So Sunday today isn't always a day of rest. So when is your day of rest, I ask you? God spent 6 days creating the world, and on the seventh day, he rested. Now, I'm not suggesting that you do cartwheels. I think that was one of the New Year's resolutions that Stefan's talk was somebody suggested doing cartwheels as their New Year's resolution. I'm not suggesting you do that, but I would like to just share with you a little story called Jesus' Day Off, and I'm going to hopefully do a screen share. And so sit back and look, and I hope be delighted by Jesus' Day Off. Julia, I just want you to do the thumbs up to say that you can see that. She's got the thumb up. Good. So this is Jesus. And we all know that Jesus, his miracles were many. The miracles he performed, the miracle of the catch of fish, the fish and bread that he fed to the 5,000, the healing of blind Bartimaeus, many, many miracles. And people came from all over the country to hear the stories, the parables that he shared, to hear his word. And all this took its toll on Jesus. He began to feel weary and overwhelmed. We remember that Jesus came in human form. He suffered with us and for us. He became fatigued. All that sharing, all that compassion, the demands being made upon his time and energy. And the crowds could see that he was distracted, not fully alive. Jesus decided to go and see his doctor. And the doctor took one look at Jesus and advised rest, to be by himself just for a while. So before Jesus took his day off, he talked to his friends and explained he was going to leave them just for a short while, just to be by himself and rest. They understood that Jesus needed a moment, just a brief moment, to be free from feeling duty bound. So the first thing that Jesus did was did cartwheels across the desert, right across the desert. And then he had a picnic, just savoring each morsel, sharing it with the birds around him. He went for a swim. Very enjoyable, although it's a bit chilly here in January to be doing that. And he galloped across the desert, the breeze refreshing him. But as is often the case, the sun was setting and Jesus began to feel guilty. He felt selfish that he'd taken this time out, thought he'd wasted the day when he could have been doing so much for others. So he climbed the hill up to a quiet place. Just as the sun was setting, he went to pray to his Father. And God listened and responded, saying, "Look down." And Jesus raised his eyes, and in amazement, he saw that his day of rest bore much fruit. Where he had done those cartwheels, an oasis had appeared in the desert. Butterflies and flowers appeared where he'd had his picnic. Shoals of fish appeared where he had swum. Most fishermen haven't yet seen the fish. That's why they're looking so glum, I think. So, a very simple little story. And so today, tomorrow, perhaps we can each find time to truly rest, to recover the joy in our duty. Most importantly, to remember that self-compassion comes before we can truly offer our compassion without fatigue. The idea of self-compassion may feel odd, alien to you, but it's vitally important that we care for ourselves as much as we care for others. The commandment, love thy neighbour as thyself. So it's just a little story. I have to say that those images are not the ones in Nicholas Allen's book. That's for you to discover. I'm going to just end with a reading from John Mayne. And in fact, we actually read this out on Friday at a cell meeting in the UK that Eileen led, and we were celebrating in the novitiate ceremony for one of our UK formation members. I don't know whether she's here today, but anyway, she'll remember it. Today is a happy day for us in the monastery And we are aware that happiness arises in our heart because of your love. What is a great grace to us is that we have found one another. And what we share is Christ, his love for us, his love for the Father. And in that sharing, we become not just fully Benedictine, not just fully Christian, but fully human, fully the persons we were created to be. And my final slide. Sorry, let's see if I can go back. Just in case you are tempted, I'm going to end with that image of all of us doing cartwheels across the desert. Thank you.
Thank you, Janet. A very joyful image, and perhaps we can do metaphoric cartwheels, if not actual, if there's no deserts around for soft landings. Thank you for sharing this little story. Quite a challenge to all of us in our daily lives to find that balance, that Sabbath balance of rest and action, and to take the care for ourselves that we take for each other. So thank you for bringing that before us and offering us the example of Jesus, caring for himself and all that came from that. And I love that you speak about joy, Janet, because I think that's one of the things that you're often bubbling over with, twinkling with joy. And there's a little quiet joke going on inside you. And I think we've all felt that in your playful presentation this morning. So thank you very much, Janet, for bringing that to us. And our final prayer, and then we'll hand back to Julia. May the divine assistance be always with us.
And with our absent brothers and sisters.
Amen.
Amen.
Well, thank you, Judy and Janet. That was lovely, Janet. Just what we need to set us up on a Monday morning, I think. So I enjoyed it very much indeed. And I think, judging by the chats that are coming in, so did everybody else. So thank you. And Judy, it's lovely to have you and Paul back with us again. So thank you for this morning. So now it's time to look forward to next week. And next week we have Penny. Now, Penny Sturrock, sorry, I hadn't got it quite in focus. And the title of Penny's talk is going to be Come and See. The Invitation to Pilgrimage and Stability. So a brief note about Penny. She's an Australian meditator and oblate who has been touched by the welcome and love of so many in our world community over many, many years, when I found myself in countless countries where I've been able to share the gift of meditation with my fellow pilgrims, especially those involved with the work with children and young people. I see so many friends on Benedict's Well each week, and I feel totally embraced by our community of love. I offer my reflection in gratitude to everyone who seeks and finds their center in silence, stillness, and simplicity. And that's what Penny had to say, which I thought was very beautiful. So we can look forward next week to hearing Penny and Come and See. So, in the meantime, I wish all of you a very, very good week, and we look forward to seeing you again next week. God bless. Thank you for coming. See you soon.
Thank you. Thank you, Janet.
Thank you, Janet.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye to all.
Bye.
Have a
Thank
nice
you.
week.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank
you-
you, Janet. Thank you.
Only time
Yes, you-
which we need.